Welcome back here to Bloom, live in the Pheonix Park in Dublin. Of course, we are live from Ireland's biggest festival of flowers, food and fun. Are you having fun?
Well, speaking of fun, Deric, it's time we get our hands dirty.
Yes.
That'll be a bit of fun. The fabulous Catherine Carton joins us today to help us add a splash of colour to our gardens and create our very own show-stopping containers. Good morning, Catherine.
Good morning.
Now, I meant to ask about the benefits between perennial and annual plants, but I'm actually going to ask you first the difference, because I didn't understand the difference.
A lot of people do get confused between a perennial and an annual, but basically perennials come back every year. They have a longer life cycle, and an annual just has a single life cycle. So you plant it from seed, it will flower, it will then go to seed, and it won't come back next year, but you can collect the seeds. And annuals are actually great because they will flower all throughout summer and into like early autumn once you just keep deadheading them. So when your perennials finish flowering, your annuals can take over and fill in any gaps in between.
Give us an example there of some good perennials.
Okay, well, we're going to be putting perennials in our pots.
Yeah.
And then annuals, we have like, you have your pansies, but you also have like cosmos and things like that. And zinnias, great for cut flowers then as well.
Oh, beautiful.
Now, Catherine, if you are a complete beginner, like where do you start?
Okay, so we're going to be doing a container today because a lot of people mightn't have the space. Containers are great for balconies, small gardens, or if you have a corner in the garden where the soil isn't great, you can just put together like a container. So I have a little recipe for the perfect show garden container.
Do share.
Yes.
So pillar, spiller, filler.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Pillar, spiller, filler.
Okay, love that. Okay.
So we're going to be putting 3 plants into our pot. So if you want to, I don't know, don on your gloves. We're going to get messy
Yeah, it's
now.
on Lavini on show.
Pot, yeah.
So
here's one we prepared earlier.
we're going to start with a pillar, which is your kind of like your tall kind of showstopper piece. So we're going to be using an agapanthus, but actually just before, in the pots, I have just half filled them with some compost, and just make sure whenever you're using your pots, you have good drainage. So you can put like a little broken piece of terracotta over the hole at the bottom just to stop any soil.
Or some stones in the bottom as well. Yeah.
You can also mix in a bit of grit into the compost as well if you need to. So grab your agapanthus. You have one beside you there, and yours is down here.
Oh yes, mine is down here.
Okay.
Yeah. What a beautiful flower, isn't it?
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is our pillar.
This is our pillar, and agapanthus like being in pots as well.
Okay.
So they're quite happy.
Now, when you are taking it out of the container itself, do you break up the roots,
You
Catherine?
can, yeah. You can just give them a little, like...
It won't damage the plant at all, will it?
No. Just tease the roots.
Okay, tease the roots out, yeah.
And can I ask, Catherine, what are the key considerations when you're choosing the container, like in terms of size or drainage?
As big as you want. The bigger the pot, the more plants you can get in.
Happy days, okay, that's the goal.
So it depends on, just go for something nice and deep so that you can get a good amount of like compost into it as well.
And they should have a hole for drainage.
Yes, always drainage. The one thing in Ireland that is for us is we can get waterlogged pots, and that's what kind of kills them, is too much water.
Okay.
Now, speaking about the compost, Catherine, like how much should you put in, and what type of compost should you use? Should it be acidic or alkaline? There's different types of compost.
Showing off now.
You're asking the horticultural questions. You can just do, for beginners, just get a general multi-purpose compost, peat-free, pop it in, and you're grand. And then feed it once a week. So we do have liquid seaweed feed, and there's also plant food as well. So to keep your soil, the thing with pots is they will lose their nutrition quicker than if they're planted in a border. So make sure you feed once a week. You dilute this in a water.
This feeder, I was looking at it earlier. It's seaweed, right? One of the most nutritious plants on the planet, right?
Yeah.
So by using this, I suppose, in your pots, in your containers.
To look after your plants once a week, deadhead them and feed them, and they will keep going for you. Deadhead and feed, they're the 2 things to look after.
Okay.
So we're going to get in with filler. So lovely foliage on this geum. Here.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, I thought this was a geranium earlier on, but it's
similar
not.
foliage.
Okay, yeah. And I asked her then, was it related? And she said, no, Deric,
No.
it's not.
He
Don't
tried
worry
to save
about it.
himself, and he just kept digging himself into that hole.
So you can pop this one slightly to the back. Don't worry about squishing them in.
Okay.
Right, so that is our filler. And then our spiller is a lovely little plant, Alchemilla mollis. Lovely on the edge of a border, but it will spill over the pot. So if you see, we have some other planted up pots here. Sarah from the orchard planted up these, and there's lovely plants that spill over the edge.
Okay, so
you want this as your spilling over, trailing.
Yes.
And there's lovely, this plant is semi-evergreen, so it will keep colour all throughout into autumn, and then you can just cut it back in autumn.
Okay.
Now, all of these plants are perennial. If you wanted, once the container goes over, you can take these out and plant them in your border if you want to refresh the pot then for autumn.
Could you split this plant in two?
You can split it in autumn.
Yeah.
Don't split it now. Wait till autumn and you can do your dividings then.
Obviously, it's so important to encourage bees and insects and biodiversity into the garden. These are good flowers, right?
Yeah, especially the geums as well. And also, just speaking of, obviously, show gardens were at Bloom, the geum has been all over the show garden. So if you do potter around the show gardens later, you'll see loads of geums. There's agapanthus as well. There's also verbascum, so that lovely orangey coloured plant there that's really tall. That verbascum was all over Chelsea as well. It's like
stunning
the
colours
flower
as well,
of the
isn't it?
moment.
Oh, really?
Geums are having a moment. They're a bit of a trendy plant.
Okay.
And they flower this time of year. They'll flower until midsummer as well, the geums. But once these finish flowering, they actually have a lovely foliage, which is why we're picking it for our filler, because they give it a lovely foliage most of the year as well.
Gorgeous.
Catherine, how do you keep your garden healthy?
So feeding, and also this time of year, we have the problem with the dreaded slugs.
Yeah, I have them crawling up the side of my pots now.
Yeah. So obviously we don't want to be using harsh stuff in the garden, especially with the slugs, because if you have hedgehogs or if you have birds that are going to be eating them. So there is a natural product that you can use. So we've got a slug and snail barrier. This is actually made from crushed oysters, and it actually conditions your soil. So the thing with slugs is they're kind of like a deterrent. You can get like slug traps and stuff like that, or you can just throw them over the wall.
Into neighbours.
Into a compact
Sorry, I have done that once or twice.
Sorry, Deric's neighbours.
Sorry.
Yeah, relocation. So if you have planted dahlias this time of year, you'll have new growth on your dahlias, and it's lovely fresh foliage, and the slugs love it. So put this around it.
Okay, so the slugs will eat that?
No, they don't like the texture
it's a barrier.
of it. Yeah,
okay.
And it's like a deterrent, so they don't like the feeling of it, and they'll hopefully go somewhere else.
So that's the slug and snail barrier. So do you put that around the plant itself,
the
or around the base of the pot?
The base of the plant. And you can put it around the base of the pot, but I'd actually put some as a topping, so you can actually sprinkle this around it, and it'll look like a nice top dressing.
Very bougie oysters in the garden.
I know, isn't it?
Very posh.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, sunlight. Where is the best place to put these plants?
You can always look on the back of your pot. It'll give you the lighting conditions, but most of them do say full sun or full to half sun. But the great thing with pots is you can just move them around. So if something isn't happy in a place and it's not getting enough sun, you can just lift it and you can just move it. You don't have to replant it in the garden.
Fabulous. I think I've got a bit of a green thumb after this.
Yeah, you
oysters
do.
in my garden, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Catherine, thank you so much for going tonight with us.
Thank you, Catherine.
Stay with us. There's plenty more to come here from Bloom.
Can you see us? We're here.